Hi, fellow tea lovers. Settle in, because we've got a story. I'm Nell.
And I'm Rose, and today we're bringing you the tea.
Across eras.
Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
Last week we were talking about the spookier side of the season. So this week I thought we would talk a little bit more of the treat side of the season. Because we're going into communal food time when we're probably the most experimental with our food that we ever are. We think about recipes that are irrelevant otherwise, like fruitcake. Fruitcake is just another type of cake in another era and world, but...
Deviled eggs.
Deviled eggs used to be a staple recipe, something that no hostess worth her salt couldn't just whip up without even looking at a recipe.
That's wild.
Now it's Google everything.
Yes.
I think I have maybe 2 recipes memorized. My partner cooks by smell. It's different every time, and it's amazing every time. There are times I wish he could recreate things.
Yeah, I bet.
Like, he made this pasta salad once that was, in his words, geared entirely towards me. He just picked things that he thought that I liked, and it was the best pasta salad I've ever had in my life.
Dang.
But because he didn't taste it, he can't recreate it.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so it just sort of lives in the air as this gorgeous moment.
I read recipes, and then I see which ingredients I have and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really good way to go. My experimental baking days was, we're in for the night and nobody feels like going anywhere. What do we have in the fridge versus how creative are you feeling?
Yeah.
And that turned into some really interesting, especially when I was really into baking. I have this cookbook that my mother gave me. She had the cookbook my whole childhood, and I would just sit and read it, same.
Yeah.
And just like imagine cooking the things. But it had little blurbs next to each recipe about the history of it.
Okay.
Because it's called Classic American Desserts. It kind of floats in and out of publication. If it is available and you find it, buy it immediately. It's the best dessert reference book you can possibly get.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would have all of these, kind of standard recipes like chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
But it also had one of my favorites as a kid that I think actually probably annoyed everybody in my house was Jefferson's tea cream.
Jefferson's tea cream. Tell me more.
I still am obsessed with custard, but I was really obsessed with custard as a kid. And all you needed was like the tea of your choice for flavoring, milk, and gelatin. And it was a way of stretching out, like showing that you have the clout to have tea at your table at an 18th century table. Jiggly desserts and gelatins are all the rage. But so you're flavoring something that's kind of highbrow with something that is very visibly expensive.
Okay.
But it actually is just tasty. It's a really nice thing to have in the fridge. I think if you like flan, that's going to be your bar for whether you'd like it. It's a very jiggly dessert thing.
I love creme brulee.
Okay, I think you'd be all right. Yeah, it's less rich. And that was something I did to treat myself. So
nice.
I was looking at other versions of treating ourselves, and I think it's really interesting how much treating yourself changes in terms of content, but also what you're trying to get it to say about you.
Yes.
The best example is sugar.
Yeah.
It's in all of our food now. We're really used to a high sugar content life. And that hasn't always been the case. It isn't something that we necessarily naturally crave, although we do really like the natural effects of it.
Yeah.
So sugar existed in very small quantities in Europe, starting in the 11th century.
Okay.
It was actually a transplant from the Middle East, so something that you're getting over the Silk Road.
Okay.
So it gets classified as a spice, and sometimes a medicine.
Yes.
We're all jazzed about that. And that comes from the Hippocrates style of approaching medicine, the idea of humors ruling the body. Yeah, so you're either a very cold and wet person or you're a very hot and dry person. Now, hot and dry is preferable. It's desirable. It's associated with masculine characteristics, being steady and calm. Ladies tend to be colder and damper.
This is literally the opposite of how I describe it.
I had a quote from this fantastic book that I have not even yet finished. Eleanor Yanega, she just does amazing work. She's a researcher that's been on History Hit a lot. Okay. And so her book, The Once and Future Sex, which will be on our library shelf, is fascinating. So it's going medieval on women's role in society. So she talks about the Hippocrates model. While all human bodies contained all 4 humors, humorism taught that they existed in varying quantities within the bodies of men and women. Men were seen as hot and dry, or naturally sanguine and socially useful. Women, in contrast, were cold and wet, and therefore most likely to be phlegmatic or placid.
Ew.
Having said that, the fact that all humans had all four humors meant that people's humoral balance allowed some wiggle room for how they behaved.
Lucky them.
Mm-hmm. The historian Sherry Said Gadelrab has characterized these differences as a, quote, sliding scale between the sexes, meaning that Hippocrates and his acolytes accepted a, quote, possibility that a person could be more masculine or feminine than others of his or her own sex.
Okay. Has absolutely nothing to
Portions.
do with our bodies.
No,
But-
none whatsoever. But
yeah,
you're talking about a medical practice that works on cause and effect.
exactly.
So you're observing that this person is depressed of humor and not as productive in society, so they are clearly cold and damp.
Yeah.
So you need to help fix that thing. Well, I mean, if it's a lady, a prescribed way to raise her heat and dryness was to have sex with her. Prescribed medicine, perfectly rational. She needs a little bit more of the masculine in her.
Wow.
Literally. But you could also give someone sugar. Because you're seeing that effect of that person is now perked up a little bit. They've released serotonin into their body, so they're kind of happy.
Okay.
Their circulation is better, so they're not acting as cold and wet.
Got it.
So sugar is medicine. It makes a little bit more sense in that
Yeah.
context. It's still just bonkers from our perspective.
But good cause and effect there, though.
No, I mean, like, sugar was in tooth powders. I mean, honey, too. Like, honey and crushed bones with, like, pumice or pearl grindings were totally acceptable as tooth cleaning.
No.
So you're scratching off all of your enamel, and then you're medicating yourself with sugar,
Yeah.
which is eventually going to kill you. I was watching something today that had 16th century death rolls, and that's when they started adding teeth to causes of death of the general population.
Okay.
It's a vague acknowledgement that the tooth problem is a problem,
Right.
but there's no connection to sugar whatsoever.
Right.
But when it's not that accessible, it's not that much of a problem. If it's a huge luxury item, it's always going to take more effort to acquire, and
Yeah.
so that the addictive quality isn't really as much of an issue.
Yeah.
Until we get to the 16th century. Plantations, stolen labor creates a market of extraordinarily cheap sugar, and it becomes available at a common table.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, Tudor period, you can do sugar anything. Susanna Lipscomb has a great Killers of History series. She was talking about all of these 16th century recipes where you would just grind the sugar up, stick it back together as a paste, and turn it into a sugar coin, and then coat it in real silver. You're willing to eat silver because it's just so rich. Let's treat ourselves and eat the money.
I am at a loss.
It's not like medieval or Tudor Europe
I mean,
was immune to the like food theater.
I love sugar. I like things on the dessert menu always speak to me.
Oh my goodness.
I ordered myself for my birthday. Every year I try to treat myself to the birthday cake from Milk Bar.
Mm.
And it's so good. It's the tiniest cake you've ever seen for the price.
But it was worth it because you're treating yourself.
It is. And I can eat like 1/12 of it a day. I took it with me to church and handed it out. But yeah, I love sugar. But at the same time, when you said you can put sugar in anything, all of a sudden I'm like thinking of so many things I don't want sugar on. But I guess if it's new and you're experimenting.
Especially like I was saying, like in a culture where food theater is the fashion.
Yeah.
You had people making like fake bacon out of sugar was in the video that she did. Fake nuts that had like a little almond in the center, which honestly looked more like oysters to me. Just sugar, any and everything, because sugar would come to your house in a loaf that looked a little bit like, if you see Jaggery sold in like specialty stores these days, I think that's probably the closest to what it looks like. It's like a cone, almost like if you just took the glass part of a lava lamp.
Oh.
And it's that shape, and so it's all just stuck together, and we don't sell it that way anymore, except for specialty sugars, but that was the standard. That was how it was shipped after processing. And
You have
so
to granulate it yourself.
you have to granulate it yourself. You're buying sugar, but you're not just getting access to this sugar, you're getting access to this work.
I literally, until this moment, have never thought about ungranulated sugar.
Because it does break off into granules by itself, but really only if you take a hooked knife. It looks like a karambit, if you're familiar with knife types. It's small, it's curved.
If you're not familiar with knife types, Jurassic Park Raptor's Claw.
That's a really good comparison. So then you're holding your sugar cone and you're taking your raptor claw and you are shooking until you have enough sugar to accomplish the thing that you would like to accomplish.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like grating a block of cheese.
It's a status symbol in so many ways. It's not just that up until this point, sugar has been much more expensive, so it's still considered a luxury item, although that is a factor. It means that you occupy a rung of the ladder that has people underneath you working to create your luxury items. You have the time to create all this extra work where you're grinding the sugar and you're scraping the sugar and you're shaping it into something. You're treating yourself and you're treating your guests, but the idea of that leisure time that you have to spare to create these things is what makes that the most impressive.
Yeah, like I can see that. Like, look what I have. I'm showing it off. You don't watch The Gilded Age, but if you did, you would know, huh?
I need to.
You really need to. You would know that one of the ladies, every move she makes is to show it off.
Mm-hmm. What this made me think of more than anything was in Call the Midwife, when poor Trixie is trying to be a society wife, and she's making all those little appetizers and radish roses and killing herself. It's the same model. You're using your food and your table to say something about yourself, and you're very concerned that it says the correct thing, but it's flipped. It's no longer how much work you can outsource to others that shows your luxury. It's all on the host.
Yeah.
The luxury, the leisure time, the expenditure of energy should all be coming from you as a proper hostess.
Which is wild, because you can literally pay for someone else to do that. But like you said, there's a reason why. Like when you think about American Thanksgiving, you can picture the table. There's the gigantic turkey in the middle. You know what most of the side dishes are. You know, like
it's very
there's a
traditional
thought in your head. This is how you present Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I always liked to read cookbooks was for the pictures and the presentations and like the artistry.
I don't put up with cookbooks that don't have pictures. I'm sorry. That's half the point. Is to visualize what you want to do.
The only one that I will put up with, both my mom and my grandma have it. I can't even remember what it's called. It was white and it had like a red plastic coil binding.
Better Homes and Gardens. Or Betty Crocker. They both
I had both of those. Those were in like over the years. They became like a hard case.
Mm-hmm.
This one was different than that. It didn't have pictures, but it had recipes that called for things like oleo and an icebox. So I was forever fascinated.
And okay, all right, that is a glaring exception. You're right.
I wasn't cooking it though.
That. Yeah. I do really still enjoy all of the old, somebody printed it out at Kinko's or on their home printer and had like the church bulletin recipes, because those are family recipes. Those are things that people are really proud of.
Yeah.
And they just evoke different memories in you. It's like a base level comfort. Yeah, those are fun to go through. I
know. I still kind of want to donate $1 so I can get the Democratic vice presidential candidate's hot dish recipe. Like, they don't need my $1. None of them need my $1.
I want the hot dish.
But I kind of am like, that recipe looks good.
Oh my gosh, settle a bet. So have you ever encountered funeral potatoes?
I know what they are.
They're basically potatoes au gratin, right? Like it's the cornflake thing is weird.
No, it's not.
If you haven't experienced church gathering casseroles, it's just a whole different world of cuisine.
Look, fam, it's got potatoes. I'm eating it.
I'm gonna try it.
Also, the cornflake part, that's one of my favorites. The milk bar cake I ordered myself, their specialty is ice cream milk or milk ice cream.
It's so bizarrely good.
It's cornflake
milk. I'm only medium on actual cereal milk, but the ice cream is out of this world.
I'm negative on drinking the milk out of my cereal bowl.
Oh, I will. Just, taste it.
But I don't like milk that much.
Yeah, it's, I think, a really important outlet for creativity, especially at their height, when it was the ladies that were expressing themselves through their hostessing. And it's not like they're experiencing less work raising their children or keeping a household.
No, but Trixie wasn't able to do it because she has a job.
Right. She was living her life. And that's why it was kind of an unreasonable expectation for a whole lot of people. But that's like the ideal. It's the false norm.
Yes.
It's the one that everybody thinks everybody down the street is achieving.
Yeah.
And it's not happening in their own kitchen.
At all.
But I think when it goes badly, those are the best holiday memories. Those are the stories you tell.
Yeah.
When Grandma accidentally put like double the salt in the pie and didn't stir too much, and then Uncle Doug, I think, got the whole mouthful of salt. I mean, she made decades of amazing pies, but the one everybody remembers was the one that was cute and tragic.
So I have a family Thanksgiving story, and it wasn't the food that was weird, it was a person. Mm-hmm. So my family, and this is all past, everyone has passed away, moved away, had lives of their own.
Oh, yeah.
But for decades, we were the family that had, every single extended relative and their friends and their stepkids and their stepkids' cousins, and everyone came to our Thanksgivings. They were very big, and they grew smaller over the years. But one Thanksgiving, my uncle's wife was something else. It's whatever. And her personality type was just very different than my family's personality type. Yeah, and that is fair and legal. It's fine. So Thanksgiving, we are all honestly like halfway through our first plates. You eat a first plate and then you get seconds, and then it kind of takes a little while to eat those seconds.
It's definitely an evolving experience at most tables.
Yeah, and then a little while later you get room for dessert. Yeah. I hadn't finished my first plate, and my other uncle was like, hey guys, I came up with this icebreaker game because I am a consultant and I have to come up with new icebreakers sometimes when I'm like meeting my clients.
Oh, he's Peggy Hill.
Yeah, but it was a super fun icebreaker. It took us forever. It was amazing. It was great. And right as we were finishing, the other uncle's wife is carrying leftovers out to the car and like packing up her vehicle.
Oh.
And we had gone back inside and she had tossed all of our plates of food and packed up everything. The other adults were in the back in the den, and so they didn't even notice, and we were all just like...
And she just took all the food.
She didn't take all the food. She was just packing up anything that they had brought. It was fine, but we had to unpack everything else.
That is so
Every
odd.
single thing she did was a lot.
It's that sort of crosswire hostess instinct where it's like, this isn't going the way that it should. I never
knew if it came from like a place of ignorance or malice, though.
It's hard to tell sometimes in those moments where it's just such a weird record scratch of a social moment.
Yes.
And you have to kind of decide on your own whether it is malicious or ignorance. Well, because it's not like you can ask.
Knowing her like I do, I definitely know which one it is.
Well, some people it's less of a ringer.
Yeah. But yeah, that was like such a weird thing around food.
Mm-hmm.
And Thanksgiving to me is a treat. My weird daughter for some reason hates Thanksgiving.
I think a lot of people associate it with drama and stress.
I think that's what she does, because I have spent a lot of Thanksgivings in the past 20-something years of my life going up to visit my dad and stepmom. And my own mom is always like, you never here for Thanksgiving, which I am sometimes, but I do more often go up there. And, she's fine with this. She's joking. But I feel like from the time my daughter was young, maybe she felt the stress a little bit.
Yeah, those things get internalized really easily, especially when you're a kid.
I don't know. I enjoy Thanksgiving. Give me the cornbread stuffing and the other kind of stuffing and pretty much all the sides except for green bean casserole.
I love the family and the camaraderie. Out of necessity, for quite a while, I've had to kind of give up on being attached to the day itself.
Yes,
circumstantially, I'm almost always working. It's just the nature of life.
Thanksgiving's on a Thursday, and that's not one of your off days.
It's fine. But the idea of it is so strong to me that I think that's why it doesn't bother me to graft it onto other days. I think it probably does bother other people, having to shift things. But I think that creating that atmosphere is the point of the holiday, less so the day. And that's made me a little bit happier in some respects, because you can just decide to create that atmosphere for a day, because it's not linked to any specific calendar concept. You can have happy July 8th steak floor picnic day.
Yeah.
And they're amazing.
Yeah, they are.
I was talking to a coworker once that they were having their first kid, and she was talking with her partner about whether or not to do Santa. And, and they both had different opinions. I was like, hear me out. If there isn't really a consensus about Santa or not, I mean, who's to stop you from making up your own holiday tradition? You could
That's so true.
The Christmas weasel only visits our house because they like our kid the best. It's something. You just pick it out of thin air, and then it becomes your tradition because you attach significance to it.
Right. My Thanksgiving tradition is a process that usually goes Wednesday. I arrive up there at their house in the evening because, dang it, they do not live close to the airport. And then Thursday we Thanksgiving. Friday we sometimes go out to the outlet malls where they live. Mm-hmm. They do not live in a major town at all.
That's going to be it.
But it's fine because I love it and it's not crazy for Black Friday. And then on Saturdays we watch the Iron Bowl, and then on Sundays I come home. So that is my tradition, and it's been interrupted. I had a great Thanksgiving in China once, and I got to have Peking duck. Thanksgiving is very food centered, obviously. I just told you, I remember the Peking duck.
And I think that's probably part of the point of presentation hostessing, of like particularly post-war, you're getting so much more variety access. And you still have that expectation to host and to present.
Yes.
And to show what your efforts can be brought to.
Right.
And you get things like the Dali cookbook. Have you ever... That's jumping forward a little bit. In the 70s, I want to say that I am going to look this up real quick and show you a picture, which we will post on our website. But so Dali, Salvador Dali, the great surrealist, I think one of the most interesting people in modern art. His art spoke to me from just a very young age. He's also crazy, which you have to kind of appreciate. He's if you've ever seen a Dali painting, if you've never seen a Dali painting, Google it immediately. I think probably my favorite are the Stilts elephants.
Yep, that's a good one.
Yep. But he actually had a cookbook. That
I don't know how I feel about that.
They reprinted it. Taschen, if you're interested in really like wild, hard to find, well-researched information, Taschen is an amazing publishing house.
Okay.
I have found more just cool compilations of studies from them than any, and they're mostly well known for their art books, like the giant art books at Barnes and Noble. Those are mostly going to be Taschen.
Okay.
But I mean, I think the best origami book I ever got was from them. They do manuscript reproductions. It's a lot of niche publishing with really high quality materials. Like, I promise we're not sponsored by them, although if they'd like to call. So it's called Dali, Le Dîner de Gala, and it is, I don't actually know if it's really any type of series at all. It's clearly supposed to be a commentary, but it also appears to be kind of functional recipes. And so I'm just going to show a couple of pictures here of architectural pheasant under some sort of pastry.
No.
Many lobsters arranged in a tower with crawfish accompaniment. It's very...
Fireworks / volcano-y?
Something, yeah, right. And probably 90% of it was an art showcase.
I'm quite sure.
It's a beautiful commentary on just the lengths that people will go for presentation food and the lengths to which people will judge others for not presenting their food correctly.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I know, I've asked you this before. Have you watched Ali Wong's movie Always Be My Maybe?
Yes, actually.
The Keanu Reeves food scene. It's not a spoiler. That movie came out in 2019.
Yeah, no.
That whole entire scene lives etched in my head forever. And if someone else was paying for it and I'd eaten before, I would absolutely do that.
Right, just for the experience.
Yes!
Yeah, absolutely.
I've tried a lot of foods. I will admit, back to gelatin. In China, I had a really difficult time with the gelatin-based things.
Oh, yeah. Aspic, savory jellos. It's a really weird texture.
Red bean paste is not sweet as I perceive sweet in America.
We have a sugar palate. We're used to a sugar palate, and...
Even like the Kit Kat I bought there,
accommodates.
Which was, it was a Snickers, which was lemon and white chocolate and not good. But it wasn't that sweet.
Yeah.
It was nothing there was, I do like sweets.
I remember getting a cherry Coke when I was in school in England. I got all excited. I'm like, oh man, they got a cherry Coke. I haven't seen those in forever. Everything is diet out here.
Oh.
And I was super excited.
I would be too.
And I shared some with my friend, and she's like, just about horked it right back out. She just was horrified. She was like, it was like drinking straight syrup. How do you drink something like that? And I was like, Cherry Coke?
I never tried sweet tea.
Oh my goodness, Cherry Coke is like middle ground, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to finish up, I had this poem. So when I was a kid, I don't remember where we were. We got to travel a fair bit with my dad. And so we were sitting at this little after dinner party in somebody's backyard, and they had booked entertainment, because all the visiting guys, got to impress them with your hostessing. And so they had this lady performing this piece, I think I must have been like 7.
Okay.
And I've been obsessed with this poem ever since. Like, it's funny enough just to be funny to a kid, but it just really holds. And it was all about the ladies who are hostessing a luncheon. And you know the type of capital L ladies luncheon we are talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
But ladies, the minutes will soon be read today. The garden club and weaving class, I'm sure, have much to say. But next week is our culture night, our biggest, best event. And I've just made a dish for it you'll all find heaven sent. It's my lime jello marshmallow cottage cheese surprise with slices of pimento you won't believe your eyes. All topped with a pineapple ring and a dash of mayonnaise. My vanilla wafers round the edge will win your highest praise. And Mrs. Jones is making scones that are filled with peanut mousse, to be followed by a chicken mold that's made in the shape of a goose. For ladies who must watch those pounds, we've found a special dish. Strawberry ice enshrined in rice with bits of tuna fish. And of course, my lime jello marshmallow cottage cheese surprise, truly a creation that description defies, will go so well with Mrs. Bell's creation of the week. Shrimp salad topped with chocolate sauce and a garnished leek.
Ew!
And Mrs. Perkins' walnut loaf that crowned with melted cheese was such a hit last culture nice, we asked no seconds, please. Now you must try her hot dog pie with candied mushroom slices. These ladies who resigned last year, they just don't know what nice is.
Oh my god.
And of course my lime jello marshmallow cottage cheese surprise. I did not steal that recipe, it's lies. I tell you lies. Our grand award, a picture hat and salmon sequin gown for any girl who tries each dish and keeps her whole lunch down. I'm sure you all are waiting for the biggest news, dessert. We thought of things in molds and rings your diet to subvert. You must try our chocolate layer cake on peanut brittle base, with slices of bananas that make a funny face. Around the edges, peppermints just swimming in peach custard, with lovely little curlicues of lovely yellow mustard. If this is all too much for you, permit me to advise more lime jello marshmallow cottage cheese surprise. I've made heaps.
No wonder they all fit into those tiny dresses. I wouldn't make any of that.
I've never forgotten just
That's
the glorious
so funny.
performance of that, and it's been one of my favorite poems ever since.
It's fantastic. If you don't know what that is, just find an old cookbook.
Any type of ambrosia salad or really like picnic dessert salad, that'll get you there. My mom's version, which is actually delicious, is made with pretzels.
So over the years, we've had like the lime jello cottage cheese surprise thing. Not my fave. What about like pear halves filled with mayonnaise?
Oh my gosh,
and
I
cheese.
Remember that at buffets and everyone being like, oh, it's sweet.
I like mayonnaise. I like mayonnaise on hamburgers, on French fries.
I'm medium on mayonnaise there.
On tuna fish from a can. I do not want it in my desserts.
No. I think it's because cheese plate technically counts as dessert, and I'm not sure at what point we all decided that was cool. And I like a cheese plate, but the squishy in between, well, we're using the cheese plate defense for a crappy dessert. That I don't approve of.
Me neither. Give me dessert.
Give us treats. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, speaking of, I'm hungry, and you're probably hungry, and we're going to sign off.
There's mozzarella sticks out there, man.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.